Okay, so welcome everyone. Welcome to our Mindful Photography in Nature three-part workshop information session here on Zoom. We are so excited to be here with you and share our vision for this workshop and answer any questions that you may have. We'll just start out here with some introductions. My name is Martha Bretschneider. I am the founder of Damsel Wings LLC, where I provide coaching and trainings around mindfulness work and mental fitness trainings. How do we bring our attention and awareness to every part of our lives to be able to show up with as our best selves in our uh, lives, in our with purpose, with meaning, in our relationships, in our work, and our wellness, all of that. So I am going to introduce you to the co-teachers of our workshop, and I'll start out with Melissa. Over to you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Maylett. I am a, I've been every type of photographer basically in my past 25 years of photographing, but right now my focus is usually, my day job is usually headshots and branding, lots of portraiture. But what I love to do in my spare time is really get out into nature and wilderness and capture what is I'm experiencing with my camera. So, although I am not one of those wildlife photographers that brings up tons of equipment and those long lenses and sits there for 12 hours a day waiting for the perfect shot. I love to be able to at least have my know-how in how to function with any type of camera that I might have to really represent and bring home with me what I've seen and use it as whether it's something I want to put on the wall, whether it's something I just want to carry around with me and meditate to or something, anything. But so I'm kind of here to support what Martha is bringing the whole experience and just kind of learn your tools a little bit better to capture what you want to capture. So, and we have down here the place to capture it, our wonderful partner, Sarah Raposa. So, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you. So I am actually sitting in the space where a lot of this workshop will be delivered. This is the studio on my land. I live in Rappahannock County in Virginia, which is part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And what I focus on, it's hard to put a title to, but the thread is really creating intentional spaces for people to step into. And within those spaces, there's a slowing down, a reconnecting with self, reconnecting with your truths, with your desires. Often creativity kind of blooms and blossoms out of that. Nature is a huge part of that for me. It's been that for me. And I offer that as part of my intentional spaces. So I do it through coaching. I do it through retreats. I've been working with Ceremonial Cacao. I do it through there. And in all, again, that common thread is very intentionally creating spaces for people to step into. And so I was asked as a partner for Martha to be part of that space holding for the workshop. And so it's a combination of in my studio and on the land that I'm a steward. And I am so attracted to the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is one of the most ancient mountain ranges in the world. Actually, a lot of people don't know that.
Mhm.
And I do very much into there is something innate in this soil that supports people in slowing down, in that nurturing, and in that creativity. There's a huge amount of artists that are drawn to this area. So it's a blessing to be able to share. And so a lot of the workshop will be on the land, in the studio, and this time of year is gorgeous. And we welcome any weather. the magic of the forest reveals, whether it's rain or shine, and we have the studio just in case. So that's part of my partnership, is helping to hold the space, help connect to nature, and to feed you delicious food, which will be part of the hosting as well. Farm to table is what we like to call it. So thank you.
Ooh, oh, thank you, Sarah. As you're speaking, actually, both Melissa and Sarah were just sharing there, I am literally like tingling, like my whole body is just vibrating with joy and inspiration and just absolute alignment with purpose right now. This is this workshop, which, by the way, I'll just tell you the pieces of it. It's a 3-part workshop. The first two, it's 2 Zoom sessions on either end at 7 from 7:30 to from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The first one takes place on Monday, November 4th. And then we have the full day in person on the land session at Sarah's space on Saturday, November 9th. Correct me if I'm just pulling this out of my head.
Yeah.
And then we have our final Zoom session from 7 to 8:30 p.m. On Monday, the 19th. Is that right? Am I getting those dates right? So it's a Monday, a Saturday, and I'm going to look over at my very ancient paper wall calendar to make sure I've got this. The 18th, sorry, Monday, November 18th from 7 to 8:30 on Zoom. So the meat of the program is, of course, going to be the in-person on Sarah's land. And the reason why I'm still tingling with all of this is that the first time I had the privilege of being on the property, Sarah and I had done another retreat experience there, not photography related, a few years ago. And I just knew that there's such magical creative energy there. And bringing in the photography piece once again, what I didn't mention in my personal intro was that where photography comes in for me in my work is that it has been another arm of my mindfulness practice. It is back in 2014, I did the 365 photo a day project with 365project.org, where only as a mindfulness practice, I took a picture every day of the whole year, 365 days straight, and just as an act of stopping, practice and pausing, paying attention, bringing my awareness, and then sharing that. I had no photography training, no photography background. I had no aspirations or intentions about what I was going to do with those pictures, and didn't do anything with the pictures other than sharing them. But in that process, it became actually an exercise with nature, and I would say probably 80%, if not more, 85% of those photos of every day of the year was in nature, was outside of my house. It was, if I was home, it was in my garden somewhere, even in those quote unquote, non-colorful months, if you will, of November and December, in January. And finding the fascination that comes with really honing our attention with great intentionality, and having no idea of the transformative effect that would bring to my awareness, not only for the photography, but learning about myself as well. And also unintentionally, at the end of that year, some people saw my work on Facebook, and then I was invited to start doing shows. It's like, what is that? That's not my identity. I was still an economist at that, I had my economist identity still. I used to be an international economist. But anyway, the just trusting, getting beyond our thinking brain. And that's what any creative work helps us do. And photography is such a powerful means. The camera is an extension of our eyes. It's an extension of our hands. It is an extension of it's a tool for our focus and our awareness. And again, a mindfulness practice, and mindfulness is the most simple definition of it, is being aware. The camera shows us exactly what is true in that moment, unfiltered from what might be going on in our thinking brain about how we're labeling something, or our conditioning, the societal conditioning we're bringing to things, what we're telling ourselves about ourselves, all the stories. When we are fully focused through that lens, when we've stilled our body, when we've quieted the mind, and bringing that full attention, that gives us that snapshot into the reality of the present moment. So that's one piece of the work. And that's why it doesn't matter what camera you have. I mean, I remember a few years ago, I was asked to speak to a photography club that's part of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So it's a lot of retired people. And I was petrified because they asked me, somebody was on my, a blog reader of mine, and they reached out and they said, would you come speak to our photography club? And I was like, I'm not a photographer. I barely even know what my settings are. I mean, I knew, at that point I was doing a lot of macro photography because was kind of the first phase of what I did. And they said, you don't need to just speak from your heart, just whatever your process is. So I knew, somebody even told me there was a retired National Geographic photographer in that audience. And I'm like, all the imposter syndrome coming in. And so I gave my talk, and it was about mindfulness, how I bring mindfulness into my mindfulness practices, into my photography. And at the end of that talk, somebody stood up, and he just kind of had this kind of confused look on his face. He said, so for you, he said, we have everybody coming in here talking about their equipment and their gadgets and their, the flashes that all of this. And he said, but for you, it's not about the equipment. It's about the photographer. And I was like, yes, big neon lights. Yes, yes, yes. I feel seen. I feel seen. And that group has invited me back every single year to speak to their group. And I mean, even when I still don't, I still, Melissa knows this. I could only do this, bring this, envision this workshop if I had Melissa here. Right, Melissa constantly saying she's the quote unquote real photographer, but it's this. I mean, Melissa, do you have anything to share about that?
Yeah, well, just that that is all true. I mean, everyone is going to photograph at the level that they are. No one here, I mean, I'm not here to teach high level techniques or anything, but it's more to show the tools that are accessible to you. And that's why we're having that first Zoom a little early, because there'll be a few things that you might want to think about trying out, or settings in your phone if you're just going to do it with your phone ahead of time, so you're ready for that day. But once you're there, aside from a few basic things that may let you see in your camera what you're seeing in front of you, it's not going to be about fancy terms and anything like that. It is capturing what you see and what the essence of you, letting you express how you feel and what you're seeing at the time. That's what's important. I mean, I'm not, even as a professional photographer for many years, there's often many times I put it on a priority, aperture priority, or a automatic mode if you need to. It's you don't want to get hung up in that type of thing. It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool. And it's a tool, it's a tool to be able to um capture or create an image that that is speaking to you in some way based on your perspective, what you are feeling emotionally at that time. And also, and you can certainly do mindful photography, and mindful photography is when you're really tapping into what's happening in the present moment in your body and your mind and the external environment with this attitude of curiosity and kindness. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in cities, you can do it inside your home, you can do it wherever. But there is, as Sarah was saying, this absolute magic that so many of us feel when we're in nature. I mean, so many of us, my husband's a perfect example. I don't meditate. I have a hard time, with like a formal meditation practice, but being in nature instills that same sort of nurturing, stillness of the mind and our spirit, really. So that's where we feel it, that connection in nature. And so that's why nature is really our co-teacher here. Nature has also, like Sarah's all and Melissa as well, it's always been my portal to my most direct connection to source and my deepest inspiration, but also so much learning. I receive so much learning and messages from nature just in walking by a tree and seeing those root systems there and the resilience that I feel. And it's the reminder like, oh, okay, we've got this. She's got this. I mean, the tree. I've got this. Nature has this. And all those lessons that we have to glean from modeling nature. And so I've got on my wall, I've got so many of my favorite images. Like I'm very drawn to trees, for example, and for so many different reason they just pull my attention, and sometimes there have been periods where I've been drawn to really tiny twisted vines or the decaying leaves, and just reminding us of the temporary nature and how everything's then composted into the earth to help us grow and nourish ourselves. And the reminder, I love the transition of the seasons too. That's why November, I'm so excited about November too. We're all just going to like, oh, this is the time we're going to hunker down, we're going to shed what we no longer need. Where am I in my life right now that I can tune into what I need to shed in my life? What do I need to let go of in recognition of who I am now, so that I can have the spaciousness and the energy to grow into the new areas? So all of these are things that we're going to be bringing into our practice. We'll have, again, as Melissa said, that first session will be, kind of the meet and greet, going over some basic things about phones, about cameras or phones, or some suggestions for what to do, kind of the equipment setup so you can bring it in to our in-person day. Then the in-person day at Sarah's will be a series of, we'll be doing some sort of nature-based mindfulness practices to still the mind, learning about how we're training ourselves to see. We're training ourselves in clear seeing. It is the art of seeing. That's really what this workshop is about. And the camera is just an extension of that. And then, Sarah, did you have something you wanted to add with
No,
that?
you finish. I do, but you said it's like when you hear the magic word and you're like, oh. So there is something I'd like to build off of your word extension, but I will let you finish your thought.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
just really briefly after, so we'll have that day, which does include the amazing, gorgeous food, nourishing farm to table food that Sarah and her wonderful husband Carlos will be providing us, offering us, serving whatever as a gift to us that day. And then we'll meet a week later on that final Monday evening, where people will then share the images that spoke most deeply to them from our in-person day. So that's, and again, this is a constant self-reflection. What am I learning? What are the lessons? Why does this image speak to me so much? So that's kind of the rollout of the full 3-session experience. So Sarah, sorry, Melissa.
Well, can I just add to that final day? I don't want anyone to think that it's show and tell and people get intimidated showing, well, this is what I got. But when Martha shares images, if you've been following her for a while in her blog posts and newsletters, she doesn't just share an image, she shares the image and she almost tells a story about it, which I love. Like this tree, this isn't just a pretty picture of the tree, but what I'm seeing, and then you start seeing it too when you look at it. So that's what I think is interesting about the after the workshop meeting. So I think that will be pretty special in itself because we'll all be there and we'll all probably have completely different stories.
Yeah, yeah, and what I love about what you said, Melissa, and a very important clarification about what that final session is going to be about. If you are ever in a camera club, I will never belong to a camera club. This is why I will never belong to a camera club. When they get together in their meetings, they're grading each other. They're looking at things, you could have done that better, like, oh, this would have been better. And so they have, and it's always a competition. And then they like vote, like who has the best picture. That is like, no, there is like no voting. There is like no judging. There is nothing about, and this is about, this is what I felt. This is the meaning. This is the meaning. This was the lesson. This is what the stream taught me. This is what, oh my gosh, this was this realization I had. I haven't written my blog post about this yet, but it's coming up in the next few days. When we were in, had the great privilege of traveling with my family, my husband and my two adult sons and my daughter-in-law to, we were in the Ecuadorian Amazon and Galapagos, but specifically when we were in the Amazon jungle earlier this year, I had, through my photography, I had this absolute epiphany of who I am now as a woman, like on my journey, whereas before I was the documenter. I was the one supposed to be documenting everything my kids were doing. I was the one with the camera, so they would point out things and I would take a picture of that. And I found myself, my husband was trying to point out this little tiny owl, like way up there. I know I couldn't get a good picture of it. And he goes, no, keep trying. But my sight kept getting drawn to this incredible twisty vine that was like, 100 feet long. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. Like the guide can put his camera up to his telescope and get that little owl. Like he's way better. He's not seen this amazing vine, right? So what was my value added? What was my vision? What's my magic that I can bring to the world? Only me, like nobody else. Like nobody else's camera would be drawn to that. And I just had this epiphany, like, I am not going to be the documenter anymore. Like my sons are in their mid and late 20s. They can document. Like they can, they like documenting wildlife. Do it. Like, great. And I'm gonna be the leaf and the vine, the person and the mud. So it was just like, oh my gosh, I know that about myself now, and I can let go of my old way of being. I've grown out of that. I was supposed to do that before. That brought me great joy before. And now something else does. And how do I keep trusting that? And it's this creative process where we're paying attention and we're noticing what sparks joy, or we'll be in nature and we have this epiphany, this insight. Oh my gosh, because I took this time and I had this stillness away from my day-to-day stresses, and I'm in this magical space at Sarah's and Carlos's land. And so it really is really magical. This is so much more than just a, photography workshop that you could sign up for anywhere. So anyway, okay, Sarah, I'm done.
Yeah, no, beautiful shares. And I'll just build quickly and then hand it over to see, I guess, if there's questions. But the word that you use that just I wanted to highlight, well, there's a few things, but was the extension of, right, of ourselves. And it's more in that where I got the goosebumps is when you had that epiphany moment of it was about the photographer, right, more than the equipment and everything, right? And Melissa, you spoke to that too. They're tools to support us, an extension of us showing up in the present moment. And you spoke of the eyes, right, and the hands, I think, of it's an extension of, and I think you were speaking to this, but I'll explicitly say it, and the heart, right? And your feelings and your emotions in the present moment. And it's just, of course, the universe always does these connections when they're meant to be. And Martha reached out to me right at a point where I for the first time ever, just launched my first photography show. And I did not have the label of being a photographer artist. It's digital photo artistry. Actually, it's photography with digital art that my daughter does. And these came out of me intentionally creating space for myself to slow down. It happened to be with my ceremonial cacao that I work with. And the images, while I was immersed always in nature and forest, it was more about the full energy and being in the moment. And then sometimes these gorgeous images I would notice on the bottom of my cup, and I started taking pictures of those. And then I had this epiphany moment of adding color to it. Long story short, using them in my ceremonies, people were like, oh, those are beautiful, you should share it. Voila, I now have a show hanging in a local cafe that Martha has also been a great mentor on. But all that to say is welcoming anybody. There's no, and I think this has already been stressed by Martha and Melissa, but like, this is not about your definition of, am I a photographer? This is about you being a human with emotions and welcoming a tool into your hand to be an extension of and help capture these gorgeous moments that are so personal and so unique. And what I love about that final share on the third part of the workshop is often when we do these, it is for us in the moment. But what's I see over and over again in these retreats I do is somehow all the people who show up are meant to be there together. There's some power and community that just happens. And what you share inevitably is not just for you, but for the community and for the group. And so those stories behind the emotions of what you captured, that experience you had, there's wisdom, there's insight, there's new perspective that always winds up being a gift for beyond just you. And that's part of why I'm so excited about the third part of this workshop, is that beauty and sharing. And often that's part of these intentional spaces we create, right? There are for us slowing down, but there's a gorgeous community aspect in that too, that I think this workshop is intentionally creating as well. So just wanted to add that, and the offer for everyone and anyone who feels called. Often what I say, and I say this with cacao, don't question the call, just come and get curious with the call. So if you're called in any way to this workshop, you don't need to rationally understand it. I just encourage you to follow it with that curiosity and that playful mindset, and let go of all labels, all preconceived notions around what we can get hung up on.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. So perfect. So perfect. And you know, on that community, the other beautiful thing about it is that your space and your studio is just such a beautiful, intimate setting. And we can have a max of 8 people, you know, of eight enrollees. So we have a small circle to make it this very intimate setting where you have a very high teacher-student ratio. teacher to student ratio, whatever. So yeah, thank you. So I do want to hold some space here for questions. And oops, I know that Maria, I feel like you in advance had tell us what questions or thoughts you might have.
Well, listening to all of you, I feel magnetized to, I feel the call. Just trust the process. Indeed, what I heard from the three of you resonated with me because, as I shared with Martha, I just came from a vacation where I visited several national parks. I have no training in photography, but I think I do. My friends like the photos. Normally, I like to create emotions from them. So I don't just shoot. I make sure they have the best smile, the nice angle. So when they receive the photo I share with them, they're really happy, because they have not seen themselves the way they smiled in that angle, right? So I kind of feel that intuitively I'm able to draw something from them that they may be shy sometimes to project, but then it comes out, and I'm just very happy to see them happy as well. And in nature, I pay attention to anything, even the bird. I like taking a photo when the wings spread and they're beginning to soar. And I'm usually quick in clicking with my iPhone. I only have the iPhone. So even turtle, whatever is moving there, I like the water, the tree. So when I saw the mindful photography, I said maybe that I have something to learn from this. That's all. Then when I read more closely, oh, there's even professional photographer, and there's Sarah, my friend. So I'm like really drawn. So I'm gonna sign up for it. The only thing is on a Saturday, right? Where the in person is a Saturday,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is it the 16th, November 16th? Is
It's
that
the
the one?
18th. It's
Is
it
that?
is November, sorry, no, it's November 9th. November
Oh,
9th.
it's the November 9.
Saturday,
Okay.
no, the 9th is the
The
in-person.
9th. Okay, okay. And then the week prior and the week after would be a Saturday as well?
Monday evenings.
Monday
Yes,
evening.
so the first
Okay.
one is Monday, November 4th.
November 4. Okay.
And
November 4
that's from
and
7
then
to 8:30. And then the final session is Monday, November 18th, also from
okay.
7 to 8:30.
Okay, I'll take note of those dates on my calendar and then I'll sign up. And
Oh, I'm so delighted. Yeah.
yes, how far
Wonderful.
away is the in
Good question.
person from Virginia? I mean, I live in
Where do you
close to
live?
Fairfax Parkway.
Fairfax?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm in Lorton actually. I'm in Lorton, Virginia.
oh, Lorton. Yeah. Sarah,
Yes.
what do you think? It's less than, is 45 minutes or so? An hour? What,
No, it's over an hour. I would say you're probably, depending on exactly where, I would say hour 15, probably no more than
Ah,
hour 30
uh,
minutes.
okay. I'm
But yeah,
also open if there's carpooling.
yeah.
okay, yeah, and we can work that out.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
feel like
And
it's not an hour and a half away. It's not, it's less than, it's less, I feel like it's close to an hour, but we can definitely talk about
Okay.
carpooling and stuff like that. I mean, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we
I,
c-
I
I
I
could-
have no further questions because all I heard just filled my heart like with more curiosity and feeling like this seems to be the right fit for me.
Yeah.
I would say I would be a greenhorn on this because I would just navigate, but my curiosity is up there, and so I'll
Sounds
follow
like it's
my
up
instinct.
here, Maria. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
up here. Yeah. Yes. So I'm excited.
Chris. Oh
Yes,
my goodness.
yes.
Well, thank you for sharing your energy. I'm already so excited to I'm just delighted. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, but
Mhm.
just with the reminder that to learn more about the program or to register for the program, you can do that in different ways depending on who your contact is. For me, you can go to damselwings.com and you
Yes.
can click on the nature retreat, both the nature retreat offerings as well as my photography tab there. And we also have you, or you can send an email to us, to any of us. I'm at martha@damselwings.com. Melissa
Mhm.
and Sarah, I'll let you give your email addresses.
Mhm.
info@melissamaylet.com.
Okay.
And I'll also put in my social media and my website, a landing page and a link to Martha's, the one she created. So
Yeah.
I don't recreate everything, but
That would
it'll
be
all go to the
inefficient.
right place.
That's where my
Okay.
economist wiring comes in. We are not inefficient here. And our mindfulness practice keeps us fully efficient because we're making the best, most efficient use of our internal resources. So, Sarah, do you want to give your contact info as well, or how your
It's
folks can sign up for you?
Sarah. Yeah, it's Sarah with an H, so SARAH, and then .raposa, RAPOSA @gmail.com. And I also have a website, but it's just going to link directly to Martha's, so you might as well just go straight to Martha's if you have that.
Yeah.
And Martha, the chat you put in, oh no, that was the Zoom. if you put it in the
Oh.
chat, will it go to in the recording for people?
I don't know about that, but when I share, what we can all share this video and then we'll have the registration link there as well. Okay.
All
Okay, I'm
right.
gonna go ahead and stop the recording now.